Fofamit here, and we're going to be talking about spending money on your stream, what you should or shouldn't do. Please like and subscribe, and once we hit 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, I'm going to do a video tour, just touring my entire setup and explaining things and doing a complete walk around. So I think there's a big misconception out there right now where a lot of people say, oh, invest for your stream, invest in your stream. There's a difference between spending wisely and spending irresponsibly. You don't want to be that person that ends up spending $2,000 on an entire streaming setup only to have it collecting dust 2 years down the line. When I first started streaming, most of the stuff I did myself instead of actually, paying someone to do it for me. Here are some spending practices that you should be looking at in order to more smartly allocate your funds. Number one is think about what you need to distinguish things into two different categories. Is it nice to have? Or is it a need to have? As an example, like if I see out there that people are using DSLRs or using like an Elgato Facecam, which is also like a really great webcam, but I currently have like a Logitech C920 or something like that, right? Now, do I need to get this new webcam? Is it a nice to have or is it a need to have? And like, that's something that's going to be ultimately up to you to decide. But most often, if you can continue streaming without it, you probably don't need it. The only time that you should really go for the nice to haves is if it can meet some other criteria. One thing that you should really try to avoid when you are trying to spend money to improve your stream is single purpose items. This includes like artwork, this includes overlays, this includes a streaming computer as an example. If you can only use this thing for streaming but nothing else, then maybe you should reevaluate getting it, because let's say if streaming doesn't work out, or when you're not streaming, when can you get use of this? So for example, if you invest the money into a streaming computer, when are you going to use the streaming computer when you're not streaming? It's essentially going to be just sitting there dead. Whereas if you are thinking about getting, let's say, a new chair, and currently, let's say you don't have a good chair or are sitting on like a stool like I used to do, investing in a new chair actually would be a better option. Not only because like, I guess if you're an IRL streamer, it can look nicer, but two, it could also save your back in the long run, because if as a content creator, I'm just gonna tell you straight up, you're gonna be doing a lot of sitting. So it's gonna have multiple purposes other than just only being used on stream. It can be used for many different things. A lot of VTubers, for example, ask me like, what should I get VR or should I get a Leap Motion? And my answer is, well, the Leap Motion is a $100 device that gives you the hand tracking, but you can only use it for VTubing. Whereas if you get VR, not only will you get full body tracking or hand tracking or head tracking like what I have right now, you can also use it as a pleasure device, an entertainment device. So you have this very capable motion capture system that you can use to play games, watch movies, or hang out with friends. And that's one of the things that you got to think about is like, how multi-purpose is this item, and do the benefits of it being single purpose outweigh its single purposeness, if that makes sense. Another thing that also should be considered, it's kind of related but not exactly, is goals. So a common phrase or saying that I see very often is like, oh, if you need this thing, you should make a goal for it. And this is actually a very problematic way of thinking, because essentially you should not be relying on your community to give you money for the things that you want to buy. My general rule of thumb is anything that you make a goal for, you should make that goal with the intention of getting it anyways after it's done. So, because there's a chance that you might not make the goal, and then what kind of happens with that money that people invested in, that said, hey, I want you to get this thing, I'll contribute to it, and you end up not being able to get it. You can't really give them the money back, so what do? So I think the best practice is make a goal for something that you're planning to buy. So let's say, as an example, an Elgato capture card for like $200, and let's say you're only able to get $100 out of your $200 goal, then kind of think about that as, hey, your community just helped you get the thing that you wanted to get anyway, and now you can use that money for something else more important, maybe something else that you were planning to get for your stream, or, you know, bills or adulting stuff. Now, a lot of people will throw this phrase around of return of investment or ROI. So that's another thing to consider when you're thinking about spending money for your stream or to improve your work situation, is like, how much will this thing benefit you in the long run? So like, arguably, I'm gonna say something like, let's say a microphone. So we're gonna have an example of a couple of different microphones. There's gonna be like the Razer Siren Nano, which is like a $50 microphone, the Elgato Wave, which is like a $100 microphone. These are both condensers. Then there's the Rode Pod Mic, which is a dynamic $100 microphone. And then at the very end is the Shure SM7B. All of these microphones are super awesome. We both have dynamic as well as condenser microphones, so we get the full spectrum there. But the thing is though, is that you might not need to spend money on the latest and greatest or the most expensive thing, because you might not actually need that. And thinking about it, when you compare the different types of microphones and how much you need to spend, it can really feed into this mentality of, I need to save, I need to do all these things before I can start streaming, and you might not ever end up streaming. And basically what you should be doing when you're thinking about all of these tips, whether it's a single purpose item, whether it's gonna be a return or all of these other things, is think about what can you do within your budget right now. How can you make the best of what you have right now to start streaming? And that's kind of what you need to do. And if you're not able to get like all the overlays or all the panels or the chatbots and everything that you want set up, there's tons and tons of great free resources out there that you can use to get started. So hopefully you found this video somewhat informative, and thanks for checking out my video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!